follow our channel, you'll know that we've had problems with our tomatoes in that we think we've got grow bags that are contaminated with a weed killer. Well, you might also know that we've had problems with some of our onions. One bed of onions just didn't seem to grow very well at all, which started us wondering. What we do when we plant our onion sets is we dig or scoop out a trench and fill that with compost, and then we plant the onion sets into the compost, give them a bit of a start. So we were wondering, is it possible that the compost used for the onion sets also has some sort of contamination? So what we've decided to do is do our own bean test. I've done 4 plant pots, each with compost in. These 3 were taken from different parts of the onion bed. We decided that we'd also do our own test of the grow bag compost, so that's in this pot here. But we also decided that we needed a control. So in this pot here, we've got compost straight out of a compost bag. Which does this contain green waste? Which doesn't contain green waste? So we've got some leftover French bean seeds. The test says you should use field beans, but instead we're going to try with these leftover French beans. We don't have any field beans. And I'm going to put 4 seeds into each of these plant pots, and we're going to see if we have any reaction, basically. So here goes. Or in this onion one, I'm just going to push them in. Planting 4 might give us a better idea, because you always get some that don't germinate anyway. That's the other onion one. Got 3 onion ones because we've taken them from different parts of the bed. Third onion one. I'm just going to wipe my fingers, then I don't do any cross-contamination. And we'll do the compost. I'll do these with the other hand, actually. This is the compost that we assume is okay, because it doesn't contain any green waste. And then finally the grow bag, which is similar to the test that Levington and Catava are going to do, presumably. We haven't heard any more from them yet. So now it's a case of waiting. We're told that the seeds will probably germinate and the seed leaves will probably be okay, but we need to wait until the beans get their first true leaves and see if there's any deformities there. So it's just a case of waiting now. We'll let you know what happens.
We set our trial beans going 6 days ago on the 23rd of August, and this morning on the 29th they've all got some signs of germination. The compost ones are through, The ones with grow bag compost are through, and the 3 with onion bed compost are through as well. Just an update on our test for contaminated grow bag compost. These are the beans that we sowed on the 23rd of August. Germinated after 6 days. They all germinated after 6 days. It's now the 8th of September and they all still look okay. The only ones that don't are these ones, which are in some new compost, but I think they've just been caught by a very cold night last night when the temperature got down to 4.5 degrees, about 39 Fahrenheit. The remainder, the ones from the onion bed, are growing alright, and the ones from the grow bag compost that was taken for testing by Cateva, and where our tomatoes showed distinct symptoms of chlorpyrrolid contamination, are all growing okay. So at the moment, that test of growing beans in compost that might be contaminated seems fairly useless, in that it can't prove a negative. Yes, it might be able to prove a positive, but at this stage I have to say it can't prove a negative, because these beans are in what I would say contaminated compost, or some part of the grow bag had contaminated compost in it. But we'll keep letting them grow on, see how they're doing another few more days. We've come up to finish our bean trial in the contaminated grow bag compost.
Really, because we've just had a letter from Levington, haven't we? An email from
clearing
Levington.
Themselves of any blame, really, sort of.
They're saying that the tests that they've done haven't indicated any toxicity in our grow bags, basically.
Anyway, we decided we'd do a bit of testing ourselves, so we planted some French beans in some decent compost that didn't have green manure in. They've grown okay. We also planted some in some onion compost that we'd spread out in an onion bed that we thought might be a bit dicey, and we also put some in some of the grow bag compost that we'd sent off, or the same grow bag of compost that had gone off to Levington's. Cateva had some, hadn't they?
Yeah, we haven't heard anything from them yet, have we?
And we know that the tomatoes in there.
We suspect, let's sort of put it like that, the symptoms are very, very indicative of chlorpyrrolid contamination.
And the result of our tests is that all the beans have grown okay. The only thing we've noticed is the beans in the fresh compost are a bit darker green, but all the others seem to have grown okay, apart from some slug damage, which, given that we've just had loads and loads of rain, is hardly surprising. But I think our conclusion is stay away from compost that has green waste in it.
I mean, basically what's happened is the bean tests would indicate to us, had we tried them out first, that the compost was fine, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
But we know it wasn't. And the tomatoes never recovered. They produced hardly any fruit, and the fruit that they did produce was misshapen.
Yeah.
All the leaves and everything, it was symptoms, typical symptoms of chlorpyrrolid or hormonal herbicide contamination. And yet our bean test shows
they're all right
that
according
the
to the
compost
bean
is
test.
fine, but it wasn't. So our message basically is, don't rely on the bean test. It may prove that there's something wrong with your compost, But if your beans grow perfectly well,
Your tomatoes might not.
Don't assume that the compost is okay, because in our case, that wasn't.
And the only good news on our part really was that the garden centre where we bought the grow bags from refunded our money.
They've actually been the most, I don't know, not necessarily the most helpful, but they've responded in a much more
user-friendly approach.
Yeah. They didn't challenge what we thought and just said, well, obviously there's something wrong with the grow bags, so as a goodwill gesture, we'll refund the cost of the grow bags, which we can't say fairer than that, can you?
No. Anyway, hope that helps you on next year's tomato crops and what what compost you might use to grow them in.
We won't be using any that's got green waste in.
No, we've learnt our lesson.
That's
all we have to say on the matter. Thanks for watching.
Bye.